News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Hellgate data breach was the result of human error. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Here it is on this Wednesday, December 16th, 2015. And we have some light snow falling in Missoula right now. Roads are becoming just a little bit slick, so please use extra caution this morning. Just a trace of snow outside my patented exclusive weather window here. Right now we have 27 degrees in Missoula. Our newscast this morning sponsored by Bulls Eyewear, where they offer some of the lowest prices in town on contact lenses. See Lynette at Bulls Eyewear, 2910 South Reserve. Our top story this morning, human error, ultimately responsible for the data breach at Missoula's Hellgate High School. Superintendent Mark Thane provided details at a news conference yesterday.
On Friday, December 4th, Assistant Principal Libby Oliver intended to finalize a document containing an agenda and notes from a recent Hellgate parent football meeting. Ms. Oliver's email attachment included an additional 16 pages of documents, some of which contained private and confidential student and staff information. The inclusion of the confidential information was the result of a human error.
Thane said the school district is considering repercussions for those responsible.
This incident was the result of a failure to follow best practice by a member of the administrative team at Hellgate High School, and as a result, the district anticipates disciplinary action will be taken.
When asked about the possible repercussions to Assistant Principal Oliver, Thane said, quote, "They run the full range and will determine what the full consequences will be," end quote. U.S. Supreme Court says it will decide whether a person with multiple domestic violence convictions in tribal court is eligible for enhanced sentences in the federal system. The case stems from a 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruling from a Montana case that went against separate court decisions on cases in North Dakota and Utah. The 9th Circuit threw out tribal court convictions against Michael Bryant because Bryant did not have an attorney. U.S. attorneys have used the so-called habitual offender statute to bring cases to federal court. The North Dakota case involves an enrolled member of the Standing Rock Indian Reservation sentenced to 5 years in prison. Officials with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Montana did not immediately respond with a request for a comment. Missoula Rural Fire responded to a house filled with smoke at about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon in Piltsville. Battalion Chief Blaine Cowan said the smoke was coming from a boiler device used to heat the home.
You're going to see a new background on the card that is graphically represented from a photo that a Montana State photographer took of Lake McDonald.
We apologize for that error. Cowan said the outcome could have been tragic if the fire had occurred later that night.
After we immediately shut off the gas and isolated the boiler unit, we found that there was a high level of carbon monoxide throughout the whole upstairs of the house. We're glad to have caught it ahead of time, so it didn't happen in the middle of the night while folks were sleeping. It would have been a very bad outcome had this happened in the middle of the night.
Cowan said no one was injured and reminds residents to have their heating units checked for carbon monoxide. A constitutional challenge to Montana's open primary election law appears to be headed to trial. U.S. District Judge Brian Morris ruled yesterday that state and county Republicans have too many unproven claims in their lawsuit to decide the case without a trial. The judge denied the GOP's request for an order to allow only Republicans to vote in the June 2016 primary elections. However, Morris said in his decision the Republican plaintiffs had presented enough evidence to continue the case. Montana law allows voters to fill out either a Republican or a Democratic ballot when voting in the primaries. The state GOP and 10 county central committees argue the system harms their freedom to associate with their own party members and forces candidates to change their messages to attract crossover voters. Sometime just after midnight on Sunday, a bolt connecting a water main pipe broke loose, sending thousands of gallons of water cascading down the stairs at Frenchtown High School, drenching floors, 2 gymnasiums, and several classrooms. Frenchtown High School Principal Jake Haynes described what he saw when he got to the school early Sunday morning.
There was water everywhere in the school. There was a waterfall of water coming down into our high school commons area, and we were just trying to figure out really where to get it turned off and to stop the damage as quick as possible.
Dayspring Restoration Project Manager Chris Shallock said the sheer amount of water released into the school building presented a massive cleanup project for his company.
So it's quite a large scope. Many areas of the building have been impacted, but we've brought in resources from across the state, from our Butte, Bozeman, Helena, and Great Falls office, as well as some of our large loss equipment, which is staged in Butte as well, to help us with the proper tryout of that building.
Haynes did not have an estimate of the damages, but that insurance would cover the cost of repairs and cleanup. He's hopeful that Dayspring and school personnel will have the facility ready to reopen after the New Year's break. In Frenchtown, there is school today for kindergarten through 6th grade, but junior high and high school are off until after the New Year's break. Police say a Montana man is facing felony assault charges after pulling out a 2-foot-long sword during an argument with a neighbor. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports charging documents say a man told Belgrade police Friday his 57-year-old neighbor pointed a very big knife at him and accused him of stealing his property. Documents say the man admitted to detectives that he confronted his neighbor with a black Japanese-style sword in hopes of getting some, quote, honest answers, end quote. His bail hearing is scheduled for this week, pending a medical exam. And a proposed silver and copper mine beneath northwestern Montana's Cabinet Mountains wilderness has cleared a major hurdle with the completion of an environmental study in the works for a decade. Craig Jones with the Montana Department of Environmental Quality said yesterday the final decision on the Montanore mine near the Idaho border could come by late January. Montana Public Service Commissioner Brad Johnson announced yesterday the commission has decided to finalize Uber's application to offer its ride-sharing program in Montana.
The commission today approved the first Uber operator applications to operate in Montana. And from our perspective, this creates additional choices for Montanans with regard to how they're going to get from point A to point B. And I think, generally speaking, anytime we can give Montanans more choices, the better off everyone is.
The final vote was 4-1, with Missoula Area Public Service Commissioner Bob Lake voting in the minority. He said the next legislature should be able to clear up any requirements.
Some technical things like what financial reporting is required by the taxi cab companies versus what's required by the ride-sharing companies. I think there may be some need to kind of equalize some of that technical stuff, and I suspect that will be addressed by the legislature in the next session.
According to Johnson, the approval means Uber can begin ride-sharing immediately.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
A good deal of cloud cover today with areas of snowfall. High temperatures will top out in the upper 20s. A winter weather advisory has been issued for 1 to 3 inches of snow. Tonight, low temperatures drop back into the single digits. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.